We are live. Oh man. Okay, fantastic. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I am with Joe Rosati from Truth Stream out in God's country. At least the land is God's country. I can't speak for the.
Some of the people, hopefully, but yeah, man, it's some interesting politics up here.
Yeah, man. When I lived there, I absolutely, man, I loved the landscape out where we were. I really did. It was my favorite place ever to live, and the energy was amazing out there as well. And so, yeah, I'll hopefully come out and visit you guys sometime. I'd like to do that soon. But today, what we're doing is we're looking to introduce to some people and a repeat to others the idea of what it means to connect into the actual language of the fabric of what we call reality. Now, in my world of framework, I'll give those names here in a minute when I tell a bit of a story, but I call this all codes. And it's very simple. It's the numbers 0 through 9. It's a 10-digit framework. And that framework is the fabric of how I bypass the resistance of the conscious mind in order to tap into the immense power we have subconsciously, where we don't put the same restrictions on what is and what isn't. Well, it takes a bone 6 days to heal. It takes this long for that. It takes that long for this. Everything has all these strict parameters because science says so, or whatever it is says so. And so codes are a way for us to get underneath that in order to open up doorways of possibility of manifestation that we normally think we want. I really want this, but there are impediments in the way that prevent us from manifesting the things that we really want. I want wealth. And yet there's software belief systems that say, I don't deserve to have money. Money's evil. People who I know of, or maybe know personally, who've had money are really rotten people, and they're ill-gotten gains. They've earned their money or stolen their money from the masses. Therefore, money equals evil. So I'm saying I want to be wealthy, but all of these other pieces in my life that are sitting below the surface are serving as impediments to what I think I want. And maybe I do want that, but I have to do something with those obstacles in order to achieve a state of being that I want. And the state of being is really where it's at. This is not so much about, this is not so much about the things, it's how I want to feel. Let's go with money because it's something that everybody can relate to. So if I'm going to talk about how I want more money, I have to get beneath that. Well, why do I want more money? So Joe, let me ask you, let's make this very personal here. Would you like to have more wealth in your life? More money in the bank account? Oh, I can't hear you. You are muted.
I was making sure I was sharing the Facebook posts on both platforms.
Okay.
So yes,
Okay.
so of
Go ahead.
course I would love to have more wealth. Yes, that's a great question.
Okay. So there's a yes. Why?
Well, first of all, it would allow me to travel to continue to do in-person events because while the show is fantastic, it's great to give people real hugs and go around and travel and see the world and communicate and connect with people in real
Okay.
time.
So it would allow you to travel, to meet more people face to face, make connections, actual physical in-person connections. And I mean, I think it would also, just me looking in, outside looking in, that also really helps to shore up a base. Let's face it, if you're a musician and you want to have really solidify your fan base, do you just release albums, or do you also play concerts to meet your fans in person?
Yeah, and if you've established, years of doing your own thing and you want to play those songs with other musicians, I know a lot of singer-songwriters, they use the money from the shows to just pay the bands, and they barely make anything, because
Yeah.
to get people to play your songs,
Right.
you know, so yeah, it takes a lot to do all this stuff.
Right. So if you get that one-on-one time though with the fan, with your fan base, with the people who care about you, care about what you're doing in the world, you make the connections, then something different happens than us just doing it this way. So how does that make you feel to think about traveling and having those connections with those people? What does that make you feel inside?
Oh my gosh. Lighter, hopeful, inspired, with purpose. I mean, it's one of the main things that's been holding me back in so many ways most of my life.
So it's a certain state or states of being that you would feel making those in-person connections traveling around the world, right?
Absolutely.
It would fulfill a dream of how you'd like to feel.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So now we've gone from more money would be great. This is what I would do with more money. And this is how it would make me feel, I anticipate, if I were able to follow all those points to the actual meeting of the people. I would feel this way. And everything in our life that we want to take through that process, you have to go for a while. I desire this thing. I desire to drive the new C8 Corvette. I think the styling's beautiful. I think Corvette's never done Corvettes better than they are now. I think they've reached a new pinnacle of performance and of styling. Okay, but that's great. But what? Why? Okay, so then what? Well, so if I got into the car and drove it, well, why would I want to even do that? Well, because I could go faster. I could feel the ability to corner better than any vehicle I've ever probably driven before. The sound of the engine, it's supposed to be amazing. The sound it produces, the gear shifts, the popping in the exhaust. So the air, if it's a convertible, the air blowing through. I mean, there's an experience going on. I want to experience what that vehicle would allow me to feel I can't any other way. I want to feel a certain way. And I think we can boil just about everything in our life down to that. Well, I want to find that perfect romantic partner. How come? Well, because I feel like, maybe I've had, many failed attempts and nothing's ever really been fulfilling. But what hasn't been fulfilling? What do you want to feel in your mind? You have a template of I want to feel these certain things in my life in a romantic relationship, and I think it's possible. Therefore, I want to keep trying until I find a circumstance, a relationship that will produce these certain. You may even have a check. You may even have a list of what those feelings are. I want to feel loved. Well, what does that mean? What does that feel like in your body, in your mind to feel loved? You get what I'm saying? It's everything we say we desire. There are feeling states we're wanting to achieve so we can go, I'm there. So, what does that have to do with codes? Everything. So, last spring, almost a year ago, I brought out of mothballs, so to speak, a device that is a consciousness book holder or placeholder, bookmark. Book holder? That wasn't right. Bookmark. And they come in many different forms, but that comes in this form. This is called a radionics machine,
Oh,
right? I'm just giving you different angles so you can see what it looks like. There's knobs, right? You see knobs on there. There's a whole bank of knobs.
it
They're
looks like a
all
mixing board for, putting on live shows, or a
right.
DJ.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
It could be a soundboard or something. Sure.
yeah.
Absolutely. It has that kind of thing. So, and you're taking these 0 to 9 dials and you're dialing in a number in sequence, right? Boom, 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 boom. And these others have other purposes, but this bank over here is about creating a code. Because in one of these, you have what you're trying to affect: a person, an animal, a group of people, a morphic field or morphogenetic field. Those of you that are familiar with Dr. Rupert Sheldrake's morphogenetic field theory, he's written a lot of books, done some experiments around there. Other people have helped him in those experiments. The idea is that you're taking a body of information and you are then interacting with it, which guess what? We're all doing that. Homo sapien is its own morphogenetic field. That's all of us. Then you can subdivide within that Homo sapien. So you could earmark all of Homo sapiens, only Homo sapiens that are of certain heritage or certain locations on the planet, or just however you want to divvy it up. Only the men, only the women. I mean, you can divide everything up and make it your destination. A field of crops. I'm growing cotton. Having a bad year, I think, like I did last year. What happened? Well, there's this pestilence that came in and started destroying all the cotton. What are your plans this year? Are you going to spray? I don't want to spray the cotton. I want to grow organic cotton. Well, how are you going to take care of the pestilence? Well, it's a certain type of weevil, and I'm going to put the picture or the name of that weevil or an actual weevil in here, a dead one, of course, and that's going to be my destination. And either through this bank, I'm going to create a sequence of numbers that represents the antidote to that weevil.
Wow.
And or I could put maybe a known substance in here that weevils don't like. So then I put the weevil here, and I don't want to just take care of all weevils. That wouldn't be cool. I just want the weevils in my cotton field to go away. So then I put the address or a picture of that field of cotton here, plus the picture or a name of the weevil in here, and that then becomes the destination. And we have the antidote. And once I click this switch, boom, that is broadcasting the antidote to the weevils in my field, and it just keeps doing that until I turn the switch off.
When did you get this piece of equipment, Keith?
Years ago, 8
Wow.
years, 9 years. So now I use weevils in a field of cotton, but let's say it's you, Joe. Joe, you go, look, man, here's something. It's kind of embarrassing, Keith. I don't tell most people this. And I'm like, well, gosh, Joe, I wouldn't dare broadcast it over like some type of show or something and talk about your very private information. Cool, because I've got this terrible toe fungus, and it's just plagued me my whole life. I'm like, gosh, Joe, that's can be really painful and unsightly to have a toe fungus. You're like, yeah, since I was a kid, it's on my big toes. It's followed me around forever. I'm afraid to take my shoes off. It's terrible. I'm making all this up, by the way, everybody. I'm totally making up a fictitious problem for Joe. Joe does not have a chronic foot fungus that he's talking about, but I'm just giving you a scenario. And I'm like, well, Joe, let's work on that. Well, Keith, you're way the heck out in North Carolina. I'm on the other side of the freaking continent, or not continent, but country. And what are you going to do? Well, Joe, send me a picture of your toes. Whoa, now we're getting kinky here, Joe. I didn't mean to take it that direction.
Watch out for that.
It's like, so what is he asking for? Keith's asking for pictures of my toes. Whoa. What is he into? Into curing foot fungus. So you send me the pictures of your toes. They go in here, right? I print them out on my high resolution printer, my laser printer, and it goes here. And then I come up with the sequence of numbers that are the antidote to your foot fungus. And I flip the switch, right? Boom. And you're having the antidote broadcast to your big toes until I turn this thing off. And every so often I check in with you and go, Joe, how are your toes today? I mean, because who doesn't ask a good friend how your toes are doing? That's a common thing we all talk about. And you're like, Keith, I can't promise you after 3 days, but I'd swear I feel like there's less of a problem. That sounds good. And we just keep tracking it. Now, we're using something as not life-threatening as toe fungus, but you can take this as serious as you want. And there were men and women over 100 years ago using these devices to treat people 1 mile away, 100 miles away, 5,000 miles away for whatever ailed them. Now, just hear me out. Whatever ailed them. I'll let you fill in the blanks. I'm not going to say specifics just in case someone might want to make something about that. But you can fill in the blanks of anything you can think of. And there were miraculous recoveries by using these.
You said how long ago?
Over 100 years ago. This country, there were radionics practitioners in this country everywhere. Now, guess why there aren't radionics practitioners everywhere?
Well, because they probably couldn't make money off it through the normal governmental agencies.
Yeah, they end up in jail.
Right. Right.
because when Big Pharma decided to create their petroleum-based nonsense, I did say that out loud, didn't I? They decided to go ahead and stamp out anything that might be perceived as competition, such as radionics machines.
Right.
So they were persecuted. And so you didn't have radionics machines working or practitioners working openly anymore. That's for sure. They were working undercover and behind closed doors and
Right.
dark alleys and whatever it took to make it work. And that is what happened to radionics machines. They're made in Mexico. This is Copen Labs. They make them in Mexico, manufactured there, but they're out of still, I think, the UK, and they have a headquarters out in California. And that's the guy Scott that I talked to years ago to get this particular model.
Uh-huh.
And so I've used it for all kinds of things, but I always knew that it was simply what I just called it. It is a placeholder for consciousness. We're the ones who drive it. Does it plug into the wall? Yeah. It does. There's back here, you plug it into the wall, and there's electricity. It runs into a board in here, and the little lights light up, and all kinds of cool little visuals happen. But ultimately, what's powering it is my life force. Now, I'm going to give you the downside of radionics machines. So when I use a radionics machine, I know that my life force is streaming constantly until I turn it off to whatever I've set it up for. Remember, it's a placeholder. It's an activity holder. I walk away from it. It just keeps going, but I keep powering it. The electricity running to the machine is just helping the instruments to hold a position, to lock into a coordinate and hold a position, so to speak. But what's powering it is me or you or whoever the operator of that machine is. In fact, this gets even more interesting. People have actually tricked practitioners and unplugged it, or some practitioners have taken the schematics on a piece of paper and a number 2 pencil and written out the schematics of a radionics machine, and they have written in their code and flipped the virtual switch to on, and the client gets better. Uh-oh. Well, hang on a second. I thought the machine was, why else would I pay $3,000 for this machine if I could draw schematics on a piece of paper and it works? What's going on here?
Right.
Is it phony baloney, or is it all just placebo effect? Well, I would say no. I would say that dogs and cats and horses and livestock in general, animals in general, they don't really have an opinion on whether they think something's phony baloney or it's real. They just experience what they experience, and that's it. And plenty of animals have been treated with those, and the animals got better. The fields of weevils didn't, the field of cotton didn't go, I'm sure glad I believe in this radionics machine the farmer's using. Otherwise, these weevils might not leave. The weevils didn't believe or not believe in it. So something is actually happening. But why can you reproduce this on a piece of paper with a lead pencil or a marker? In case you think the lead has something to do with it, or the graphite. So what's going on here? Well, we are amazing human beings. We're amazing. In fact, I would dare say when we come into this world through your mother's womb, whether it's through a normal birth or a rooftop delivery from a surgeon, however you came out of your mama, you came in with a certain level of amnesia, if not a complete amnesia. You don't remember anything, right? You come in with certain, if you've had children, folks, you know this. They don't come in blank slate. They come in with some pre-wiring. I mean, definitely come in with personalities that are unique to that child. You don't parent, let's say you have 5 kids, you don't parent 5 children the same way. There's basic moral values and a code of conduct you instill in your children, but each one of them is going to respond to your teaching style a little different because they are different. We're different. The overall amnesia is there, and part of that amnesia is forgetting how amazing we are, especially when we come into this world and you're told by certain religious backgrounds, hey, Joe, I want you to know, due to a couple of people, the first couple of people that were ever on this planet, yeah, they screwed up. Yeah, this girl found a fruit tree. She was told not to eat from it, but she did. And her stupid idiot husband, she handed over and goes, "Here, eat this, sweetheart. It's delicious." And he goes, "Okay, I'll eat it." And he ate it with no questions asked. And they both lost their purity, and they knew too much, and then they lost their position, and they were tainted forever in their DNA, all the way down to us. And Joe, I hate to tell you this, through no fault of your own personally, you're kind of warped and distorted. Just right out of the gate, my friend. There's something wrong with you. Sorry, you're a warped and defective creation. Live with it. There's some pathways to try to overcome it, but most people fail, so good luck. That doesn't make for a human being to find it easy in life to pursue their greatest understanding of who they really are and what they can really be in this life.
Right. Agreed.
Right? Something you have to overcome that. So when you start overcoming that, you realize that a machine like this is all it's doing is helping you to uncover your greatness. It can be. Now, last spring, I felt stagnant in my life. I was like, I just don't feel like I'm really not expanding anymore. I feel like I've stalled out, and I hate that feeling. I don't like limbo. I don't like feeling stalled out, stuck, stagnant. I'm going to pull out out of mothballs, my radionics machine, and I'm going to put in a state of being I want to be that actually is fictitious. Comic book reader as a child. Loved Marvel comics. Fan of Superman. I'll do a little DC Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, but overall Marvel comics. Give me the Marvel universe.
Okay.
And you all know what that is because it's made it pretty big in movies over the last 10, 12, 13, 14 years, right? And so one of those things these titles you hear about, these states of being you hear about in that Marvel universe, is what's called an Omega level mutant. Now, what does that mean in that world? That means this is a character that could either change the entire planet in a beautiful, beneficial way, or it could destroy the planet, that person. World ending or world solving power. I put that, to give you the visual, I put that in the antidote, what I was sending, and I put me, in fact, there's my name.
There you go.
I put me in this.
That's awesome.
All right. And so by doing that, I put this state of being that, as far as we know in our known world, there is no such thing as a mega level mutant, but somewhere I figured in my mind in the multiverse, it exists. It is a concept that has a reality expressed somewhere. So I put it here, and I put me here, and I flipped the switch. That simple. I didn't even touch the dials the first few days. They're all set at 0. Just a state of being. I felt weird. I felt kind of whacked out. Head kind of swimmy and spacey. I was like, yes, something's happening. I don't know what, but something is. And so I kept then day after day tweaking the dials as I would feel the strange feelings normalize, because I don't want to feel normal. Normal is stagnant as far as I'm concerned. So I kept adjusting the dials and using my intuition for how to tweak this to keep expanding me and cracking the box that I had put myself in, cracking the walls open so I could grow more and more. And then I just happened to have an unexpected event where all that culminated, that calling, that beacon I was sending out in the world. I was sending out a series of numbers eventually, a code that asks for me to be in a different state of being. And I'm treating this person, and I have this massive energy move in the top of my head. This is what it felt like. Okay. What actually happened, I couldn't even tell you if it was an activation or something moved in. I don't know. It felt like something powerful moved into the top of my head and started working its way palpably down my neck, into my shoulders, and then finally all the way down to my toes. And my nervous system felt like it was like I'd been plugged into a European outlet.
So was this a good feeling or not what you were looking for at the time? How would you do?
Well, that's a great question. It was it was um, it was good in the sense that I could feel change, didn't feel stagnant. It
Okay.
felt powerful. It also felt extremely uncomfortable.
Okay. Which can be a catalyst for growth. So it could be a good thing, even though it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, is it killing me or is it making me better? Whatever better means, right? I mean, that's always the question when you have something powerful move through you is this going to make me better, whatever that means, or is it going to make my body degrade? Is it going to tear me down?
Right.
But I've always been one to just like go, well, I'm willing to take that chance. And so I kept growing with that and I created exercises that would help my body to do two things: to harmonize that energy in my body, smooth it out, and also though make it expand faster. I know, glutton for punishment, right? I noticed, because since I'm a practitioner, for the people who don't know, because I didn't lead with this, I, I'm a Chinese medical background trained person, and then I also have skated the fringes of the esoteric sides of Chinese medicine and things that aren't even Chinese medicine really for years now. And I've treated distance only for the last, I guess, 8 years at this point. And I found my treatments becoming something very different. I had longtime clients who would go, "Hey, I need a treatment." I would treat them. They go, "Whoa, what are you doing?" "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, that was different. That did not feel like your treatments normally do." Or new clients would tell me, "Man, that felt electrical and hot." Well, that wasn't what my treatments used to feel like, electrical and hot. That's how I
Right.
felt after
Right.
this moved in, but it now they were feeling it.
Was
So
your wife
then,
feeling it? If you're electrical and hot, I mean, that's
yeah,
gotta be a good thing.
she yeah, I get where you're going with this.
Well, I mean, in more than one way though, right? I mean, that's
Yeah,
gotta be a good thing.
it is. It's yeah, it's an exciting energy. And so I went through a lot of experimentation. I found that which had activated in me was then contagious,
Right?
meaning I would tell somebody about it and they go, I feel something happening in my body. And then they would feel it kicking inside of them. Not every person, but more than not. And then I would teach them the exercises that I had created to smooth out this energy and to also then cultivate it further.
Right.
This is all I knew about it, right? It's all I knew about it. And so to take this story, this leg of this story of discovery, and just give it a quick end, it's led to a very different way of how I treat, what I'm looking for. You could argue I've moved from a very terrestrial way of treating people of organ systems and what's going on in the organ systems and how's that affecting the central nervous system, and a very tangible sort of way, even though it's Chinese medicine, to a much more etheric, one would, and this is not proper terminology in my mind, but people will relate to it, to a much more spiritual approach. Meaning I took the ancient understanding of 2,000 plus years of Gnostic understanding of what it means to live in this matrix, which is very much like the Matrix, the movies, in that understanding, and how it's not a true reality. It's a simulation of sorts. And our whole purpose, really being here, is to wake up to that and to recognize who we really are and where home really is. That's Gnostic understanding in a nutshell. And
Right.
I got pulled into that direction from this activation or whatever moved in, that power pulled me in that direction, a direction I didn't want to go. And I married those two together. And so now my coursework is very much about living in this matrix. It's not the reality. It's called the kanoma. It's manufactured and it's automatically twisted and distorted. And there are archons, there are entities, archetypes that are drawn to what we emit in our dysfunction.
Mm.
But as opposed to going, I must be evil or I must be defective to draw these things in, it's like, no, you're just suffering from amnesia. That's it. Just amnesia. And by you awakening to your true reality, your true identity, the impediments fall away. So it's a very different approach. So how I approach healing now is, yes, I recognize organ systems from a Chinese medical position. I recognize also, though, what the world has recognized and what you focus a lot in some of your shows, a lot of your shows, which is there's what perceives to be distortion, deliberate, painful, inducing individuals in this world, sometimes operating in groups that are here to create havoc and pain and suffering. And they seem to be influenced by non-physical influences.
Right. Right. Now, I want to bring up something for the
Do
audience.
it.
And so first of all, Keith and I met in person at David Martin's seminar, The 12 Senses, in January of 2024. And part of the mission that I was already doing Truth Stream at the time with Scott, which we're still doing Truth Stream, but I got to go to this event thanks to a mutual friend named Kim that both Keith and I know. And because of going to this event, I wanted to lock arms with people that are doing the opposite of what Keith is talking about. And when I saw that Keith was doing this event, you've done it. How many times have you done something on codes now? 3 or 4?
I've done codes at least 3 times recently, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And part of why I wanted to team up with Keith is because he's on Facebook and he's going to continue to do events on there. But to get the word out, to lock arms, to it's so great to help share people's mission and their vision that's to help humanity. And so that's the reason that we're doing this together. And I just want to let people know that. And you have all these really amazing teachings and classes coming up as well that you can get more into about later. But I just want to let people know a little bit about our background so they know why we're here.
Appreciate that. Yeah, that's a good point. I just jump in and run like I'm sprinting, and I don't give enough background on it. I just start telling the story.
That's
And
all right.
you're,
That's all right.
no, you're right. And I have awareness of some of the things that you've uncovered in all of your interviews, and enough to know that the framework for me, I couch it in what I just described. It's great for us to have the understanding of, look, there's things going on in the world that most people don't know are going on in the world. And if they did, they might find it hard to get up the next day.
Right.
It's that grotesque, what humans are willing to do to other human beings. It's
Right.
atrocious. And I'm not saying this is the majority of people.
Right.
But there's enough who are in positions of influence that we need to be aware. But what I notice is I notice a lot of the identifying, the education of, hey, here's dysfunction. Are you aware of that dysfunction? How about that one? How about that one? We could be here all week long, 24/7, talking about the dysfunction of the world, and you wouldn't repeat yourself. But what do we have as the antidote? What do we have as, here's the dysfunction? Great. What's going to go over here? What's the antidote? What are the tools we have to do something about it? Folks, you may disagree with me on this one, but if you think that voting at your local county courthouse or wherever you voted, whether it's locally, statewide, or federal, if you think that's actually going to change everything, you must be fairly young or not paying attention. I'm not saying it does or doesn't have any impact, but that's not probably going to get the job done. That's not alone going to do it. And neither is picketing on some corner with a sign, or writing letters to your senators, or all these things that we're told we should be doing in order to make a better world. If you're around enough decades and you start looking what's going on and what's been going on and what's been attempted to change things, and look at how much change has happened in the direction you'd want it to, it's more than a little disappointing. So the question is, what do we do? And so for me, my whole life, you're going to love this, is about me. It is. What can I do to explore internally? Because this is who I'm working with right now, is this particular human avatar. And this soul expression is this guy. What can I do inside that then, of course, I can broadcast from me and teach others how to broadcast a different type of signal, frequency set, to then it become contagious to start creating change. How many times have you heard of it? The change begins from within. That's how you change, is from within. Not writing more letters to your congressman. Not voting for the next great leader that's going to save us all from that. It's not going to be enough to do that. It has to be all of us starting to make these changes. So I'm always looking to create tools that I can teach so people will feel more, not just feel, be more empowered. How do I do it? And so for me, when I had this happen last spring and I felt more tools coming out and in a much more powerful way than before, all my old tools got better and all the new tools I think are more cool than my old tools. So
Nice.
the codes, to take this thing all the way back to what we started with, are an amazing, easy tool to teach. And we're 38 minutes in, and I'm going to start demonstrating the tool.
Let's do it.
All right. So I want everybody that wants to take part to put in the chat something you want to work on. Something. You can be vague. You can be specific about it. I don't care. But give me something. It could be, it could be anything. Anything. It could be emotional. Can it be emotional? Yes. It could be about relationships. Whatever it is, please just put that in there and let me see it, because I'm going to take it into consideration. I'm going to put it on my little imaginary clipboard over here, and then I'm going to start working through codes, and I want you just to sit there and feel what you notice while I'm creating these codes. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Bonnie. Perfect. Because even when you give me one word or 3 words or 2 words, you're holding the entire information about what you want to address. You're putting it inside those few words. The few words contain the whole. Got it. Yes. Chantel. Jacques Crowy. Jacques Roy. Jacques Royo. Yes, I know who you are. I see you. Got it. Tuscany Dreams. There you go. Mary 148. Got it. Now, what happens when I'm doing this, as I'm reading these, I feel the pattern you have encoded in what you've written moving into me. I start to feel much more electrical. The current in me starts to increase. I start to feel like I'm more full. Anthony, Eric, Marlineige, Carol M 8326, Mermaid Man, Michelle, Laura Livingston. I like that.
I love how there's a few of the folks that I got to meet at the 12 Senses class in the chat. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's awesome. Making sure that what I have on my phone matches what I'm seeing on the screen. I don't always trust StreamYard to give me all the comments, but it seems to be doing okay for what's happening on Facebook anyway. All right. Anybody else before we launch into this? All right. So I don't want to give you too much leading the witness of what you should feel, but I will say this. There's Teresa. Mm-hmm. Anthony gave a hail to Eric there. Yes. Nancy, yes, Eric. Man, Eric hit on a tight one there. Tight one? I just read Chantel's word. Tight connection tissue. Tight. Got it. Okay. Just notice what you feel in your body when I do this, what you feel in your thoughts. Do your thoughts increase? Do they slow down? Are they different? Do you have mental imagery that's interesting? Just notice nuance, heat, cold sensations. Be very aware of what's happening in your body while I do it. It's either the mom cat or themom cat. Either way, better health. Got it.
I'm already
mutilating
feeling
names.
less anxious.
Oh, good. That's exactly where I want you, Joe. All right. So I have to come to a collective theme. All right. This may sound like a strange word to land on for the starting this out, but it's what's coming up, and it's hopefulness. I go, what does that have to do with the things I put in that chat for Keith? What has hopefulness got to do with it? Just trust me. All right, you ready? Here comes the numbers. For this first code, here come the numbers. 3, 7, 5, 8, 7, 5, 9, 8, 8, 8 again. 4, 5, 7, 4, 8, 7, 5, 7, 1, 3, 8, 9, 9, 7, 7, 1, 9, 9, 8, 8, and 9. And 8. All right, that's our first pass, our first code. Anybody want to put into the chat what they feel, what they felt when that was happening? And it might still be happening. Usually it keeps rolling right along. Again, you're looking for anything you felt in your body that was unusual. Some people it's twitching, some people it's heat, it's cold sensations, it's rapid thought, it's if your eyes were closed, maybe you saw light, saw imagery that was flashing quickly. Could be all kinds of things. Nancy says big sighing, which is often a sign of shifting. Sighing's often a sign of the liver emptying out its frustration, its irritation, its anger, its rage. Sharon says tightness in her right side from doing that. So she's got something already happening in her body in reaction to the first code. Thankfully, we're not done. Maranej says relaxing. Chantel says bubbles in her knees and energy swirling. Tuscany dreams coolness like a breeze. Cool. Nancy says, excellent. Oh, cool. I can see the YouTube feed in here. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you coming in here, 5D Diva. Legs moving, body moving when different numbers were said. Right. Shifting. Physical signs of shifting. It's for some of you, it's subtle, very subtle. Some of you may miss it. It's so subtle. Others, obviously, like 5D Diva, not subtle. Legs are moving and body's moving. Thermocat, and emptying out, relaxing. Michelle, cold. See, there's cold. Jacques Couillori, shallow breathing. Anthony, an F a lump set in my head, a fair amount of pressure, sinus cavity at the front of the top of my head, waiting on the woozles. He had a Winnie the Pooh experience. Eric, containment, focused, easier breathing, eyesight shift for the better. Liver. Bonnie, energy came down through the head and loving the sparkly energy, love the numbers. Cool. So there's our first pass, right? So we're just getting into things, getting things moving, which is what you saw. A lot of people reporting types of movement. Now, I haven't forgotten on my clipboard here what you mentioned. Thankfully, I don't have to keep all of it in my gray matter or we'd be in trouble. There's always the divine clipboard, if you will, that keeps track of everything. So, do you have questions? Oh, you're muted right now.
And is there anything as far as the numbers that are coming up, like what each number represents compared to the other numbers, or is
Yes.
that okay?
There's my understanding of that, which when I teach my students how to do this, I tell them, look, here's my definition for the properties of each of those numbers. However, they can absolutely have their own interpretation of them. It's nothing hard and fixed. In fact, for the longest time when I did codes, I had no meaning attached to any of them. I just kept feeling what I would feel whenever I would say a number and what would come through me, and just start to notice the qualities and the properties of it. You're welcome, 5D Diva. And Carol M8326 says vision multiplying open windows. Cool. That's exactly it. Open windows. Bingo. So the numbers do, and I go into that in the classwork. It's 2 hours. I teach this in 2 to 3 hours, and that's all it takes. And I give them a PDF that shows the explanation of the numbers and what I have attributed to their properties as their properties, and they leave with that, and they leave with a recording of the class. That way they can go back and listen to it. But you come out of the gate able to do it. It's that simple. And let's do it again. Let's have a second wave of this. And so now I feel different because I held 66, or actually it was 69. By the way, if you come in and are watching this and you leave and you think you've left the experience, once you check, it's like Hotel California. Once you check in, you never leave. You never
Now,
leave.
is it better if folks either have their eyes closed, or what space or state should they
Good
be in?
question, Joe. It's a good question. I mean, I like my eyes closed. That way I have a chance, if I'm going to have the flashing lights or colors or imagery, I have a better chance of my mind's eye being able to produce what's going to produce and me catch it, because my
Okay,
eyes are closed and I have a screen, my eyelids, for
right.
which to see it.
Well, I'm just going to sit back then on this
Yeah.
max.
Joe's going to be taking a little nappy nap, and we'll wake him up at the end. All right, here we go again. What's our next theme here? All right. So our next theme is containment. And containment in specifically about your ability to be in your body, to be grounded, to be present. And because there's a lot of, I'll call it what I call misinformation, that the idea of being spiritual and having spiritual growth means to be out of your body and to feel like you're floating. And I don't find that to be actually good evidence of spiritual growth. I think that kind of unrootedness leads to a lot of chaos in your life. So this is about containment. Okay. 7, 4, 8, 9, 4, 8, 2, 6, 8, 8, 9, 8, 5, 7, 1, 5, 5, 9. This is about boundaries too, that type of containment. 1, 1, 1, 7, 3, 4, 7, 7, 9, 7, 8, 4, 1, 8, 8, 8 again. 2, 5, 5, 3, 2, 1, 8. All right. There was our pass for the second code. So that was more about containment and specifically being grounded and also boundaries. Now, if you want to give me feedback, you can. I'm not going to request it if you don't want to do it, of course, but I'm going to move on to the next piece because we are nearing the top of the hour and I would like to keep this kind of short and sweet and give the rest of your afternoon or morning or whatever time it is in your part of the world. There are 71 people here right now, so this is a lot of fun because I can feel 71 people. And so there's a lot of request, whether it's conscious or not. There's request. And so right now what it feels like is I have a lot of energy that's really starting to move my focus and attention into my chest. And I use that as a representation for the 72 people that are here, giving me a sign of what I need to focus on. So the question then is, well, okay, what is it about the heart? What is it about the chest here that I'm being brought to focus on specifically? So the heart is, in a lot of ancient traditions, it is the doorway to everything that is. It is the doorway into the all, into the one. It is your spiritual gate for your soul to then connect and provide the recovery of memory of who you are, the fully expressed you. So we're going to end on this part right here. In Chinese medicine, the heart is also known as the emperor or the empress. It is the overseer of the internal kingdom, which entails all of your internal organs, which serve as what are called officials. They have specific roles within the internal kingdom, and those roles are overseen by the emperor or the empress, the heart. The heart is not there to do the job for each organ system, but to send out through sound waves the information needed to coordinate all of the officials within the internal kingdom. When the heart loses its ability to communicate clearly to all of the officials, then organ systems no longer are working in harmony, in full and aligned orchestration so that everything is moving in an outward and expansive way, and there is no taking steps back in your health and progression. So it only makes sense that if you have the guidance of your spirit, which is eternal and resides in perfection, if you have connection through the heart, through that portal into the heavens, then your human avatar experience soul then is able to dance with its yang counterpart, which is the spirit. So then we have the yin soul and the yang heavenly spirit dancing in harmony, giving you the fuller expressed human experience. Here's the code. 8, 8, 3, 4, 4 again, 3, 8, 4, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 3, 5, 4, 7, 8, 7, 2, 3, 6, 3, 9, 4, 6, 8, 8 again, 7, 4, 8 again, 8, 1, 5, 4, 1, 5, 3, 2, 8, 2, 3, 7, 9, and 8. All right, folks. Now you'll notice as I tie it all together, you don't need a $3,000 or $4,000 or $10,000 radionics machine to create change with numbers. You are the magic. The box is just a box. It's why I told you the story about how they would draw the schematics of a radionics machine on a piece of paper and it would work, to help you understand that it's not needed. We're the magic. The people that ran those radionics machines, they were the magic. It's just training wheels. In the codes class I teach, I just take the training wheels and throw them out the window because you don't need them. 2 or 3 hours, you work with the codes. And we'll talk about how each person perceives codes, how you get the information, because you might be wondering, well, where are you getting these? How do you know what comes next? And I teach you how to do that in that class. It's not hard to do it. And everybody's different, again, on how they receive those numbers. Some get them like I do, one by one, and the number comes, I can see it, I can feel it when I hit the number, I can feel it expand in my body, and then I can feel it ripple and all the shifting take place, and then it calms down, and then I go to the next number. Some people go 3, 7, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, and they just keep, and they're done. That's the number. That's how they get it. So everybody's different on how they receive information. Bonnie says, like a heart activation I was feeling. Michelle says, warming up, I feel less agitated, smoothing out. Need to go outside and be in nature. Much gratitude to you, Keith. I think she left. I think Michelle left the building. Eric says, interesting pain across the skull. Came and went as quickly as it appeared, followed by a sharpening of vision, eyesight. Cool. Chantel so kindly recorded the freaking long code there. Bonnie says, now I'm super hot. That's something that happens very often for people. They have, as they release things stored, it comes out as heat. That's often how we operate. When we start to release patterns that are stored in our field, in our body, they come out expressed as heat. I was treating a new client the other day on the phone, and I was working with numbers, codes, and I said, what'd you know? She goes, my knees got really hot. I'm lying on my back. And all of a sudden, I put my hands on my abdominal area, and my belly got hot. So heat's a big one. Marlene says, felt great. So these codes help to create change. They help to move things along in your life when things are stuck. And sometimes, though, the manifestation of what you're setting in motion with codes, as you can imagine, doesn't always come out the way you think it's going to. I imagine when I do these codes, I'm going to have this as a result. Well, remember, it's a feeling state you're looking for. That's why I gave you that whole rundown on how feeling states are what we're trying to accomplish, not necessarily things or achievements. We want the feeling from that. Michelle says, I'm still here, but I can't sit still. Needed to move with the numbers. I love how 8 cycles. Marlene, I'm feeling more whole and in peace. Awesome. Whitney, how do I get one of those? Radionics machines? Yeah, I mean, I'll give you the company I worked with, and Scott's probably still there in California. If you can see that, it says, can you see that? Copen Labs?
Yep.
Yep. You can have it. You can get one. If you want to spend that kind of money, you can, and they are useful. But I got to tell you, I mean, I still use it, but the number of codes I run in a day, I run the codes, are many, and that machine's not involved. 5 Diva says, upper body movements with arms and hands moving, body reacted to various numbers, and sometimes vocal sounds, and my language kicked in. Totally awesomeness. Honored and grateful, Keith. Thank you, 5D Diva. I appreciate you being here. And Themomcat, or the Mom Cat, felt a stretching in my scalp, then later a tingling in my scalp, complete relaxation, almost like an electrical movement through my body. Yep, I get that. Absolutely. Any last questions, other than where can I get one of those, which hopefully I answered by saying go to Copen Labs online. In fact, I'll write the word radionics. How about that? That way you guys don't go, am I getting that right?
Right. Well, and Keith, where can people follow you and find you and, learn more about what it is you're doing and future events and all that?
Hey. Well, I'll run there on the bottom there. The banner talks about the class coming up on the 26th of this month, and all the details are there. I will also, on the Facebook feed and on the YouTube channel, I will, Facebook, YouTube, and X, I will put in the comments, I will put this link there also to be found, so they can just tap on it, and it can allow them just to go directly to it. I do my Facebook Lives. I'm going to try to keep them more weekly, doing at least 1 or 2 a week, where I'm doing codes. Codes are as I was telling you in our in our conversation before this broadcast, I find codes to be a tool I can teach quickly and easily that has a big impact. And it's one of many tools that I teach that are part of an entire paradigm of how I look at the world, how I look at why we become ill, what we broadcast as living beings that then attract other things, often that are unseen, that connect to us. If you get into virology, the idea of bacteria, infectious disease, and all those things, I know that the explanations we're given are not the full explanation. They're not. Because I couldn't work on people from a distance and they get better from those things if it was strictly based on what we're told in school. They don't understand all of it. I'm not saying they're wrong on all of it. I'm just saying it's an incomplete understanding of who we are, how we operate, and what it means to be affected or infected by an invasion. The invasion can be from a conversation with a person, an idea. It could be from, I've been sinking down into severe depression and I just keep feeling like I'm being pulled deeper and deeper down. Well, what else is going on there besides the typical answers you're given for what depression is? What if there are barnacles on the ship that are weighing you down? What if there are things you've drawn in because of what you've been broadcasting? I remember I had a client, and I'll end on this note. I had a client who told me over the years, I just don't understand why I don't have any friends. I said, well, do you interact with your friends and your coworkers the way you do with me in here? What do you mean by that? Well, you're sharp, you're curt in your responses, you have a scowl on your face. Most times you come in here and you complain almost the entire time, which is what I'm here for. I'm here to hear what ails you so I can try to help you out. I get that that's the context of our relationship, but do you talk like this all the time?
Right.
Because hers was easy. You're visibly, audibly broadcasting hey, I'm a pain in the ass to be around. Want to be friends?
She is a barnacle.
She's the barnacle, and she called in other barnacles. Now, I haven't worked with her in years, but I hope that all that sunk in. And from what I've seen of her posts on Facebook, she looks and feels like a different person. And in her pictures, she is grinning ear to ear, and it's genuine. It's not
Wow.
cheese. It's genuine. So somewhere along the way, she decided to change her internal environment and broadcast a different signal to draw in something different.
Right.
So the way I work, my paradigm is this. This Konoma, this simulation, this matrix, as it's said in the movies, has rules and boundaries that can be stretched and they can be even broken or rewritten because we have that kind of power. To quote Saint Athanasius, we are like little gods. Ooh, blasphemy. But Saint Athanasius said it first, meaning there's a power to be unlocked inside of us. We just need to have someone show us how to start moving in that direction, gain the momentum, and then that will start to break loose the shackles. I'm not claiming total mastery over all of it, but as I seek to have more full expression of who I can be in this life, I'm constantly exploring, I'm constantly making new tools, and now through codes as an entry point, I can offer you one of those tools that helps you to start to break the chains loose and start to develop new things. Look what I did. I gave a Marvel comic book label of some type of way of person, a type of person with great power. And I said, yeah, feed me that. Let's see what happens. And everything broke loose. It doesn't have to be within the box of, well, that's not practical. I don't want you to be practical. I want to teach you codes so you can be impractical. I want you to be able to take something and play with it and start to explore what ifs and then see what comes from your what ifs. That's what codes are all about. Can you work on pain? Sure, you can. Can you work on your attitude towards something? You can. All that's possible. Nothing is outside of the range of influence of working with codes. I want to put your stuff up here. Here is Truth Stream's link tree. Folks, if you want to have access to some of the most diverse exploration of what the world has to offer as possibilities of reality, I would venture to say that TruthStream is probably the most broad show, certainly that I know of, as far as the diversity of what I see come up in your titles of who you have on and what you're exploring. I don't know of any, but Joe Rogan only wishes. Maybe he doesn't, because he doesn't want the repercussions of some of the subject matter you would explore.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I will say that we certainly don't do this for the numbers or the finances or any of that, because it seems like the more we cast a wider net, um, like I said, it's not about the numbers, but the numbers have been going down, and I don't know if they just, because I think Scott and I are pretty just two basic dudes that most people can see as like a friend or an uncle or whatever, and we're able to
Uncle
talk
Joe.
about what's that?
Hey, Uncle Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, someone kind of ruined that part. Thanks, Brad. That's creepy, Uncle Joe.
Right. That's not you. That's not you.
But and that's we're just going to keep being ourselves and doing what we do and spreading a very wide net to bring shows like this. And it's an honor to share the stories of some of the folks that I met in the 12 senses, and hopefully there's going to be more of those stories that we share, and we'll just see where it goes. We're just doing our part to connect community and change lives and do it in the way that we know how. And so it's an honor to do this work. It really is.
Well, I appreciate you having a platform that I think I think as you're able to travel, as you mentioned in the beginning, and meet people and make that handshake, hug connection, I think there's going to be some shifting from that. I'm glad that door is opening up,
Yeah.
and that you're seeking out, because I do think it's going to help, because I think you guys have probably felt like you're in sort of a box, even though you've done everything you can to not be in a box. I mean, come on, what else could you do as far as subject matter and the people you've hosted? Diversity's there. I think getting out there and shaking hands and kissing babies is not a bad thing, because rubbing elbows does actually create rapport you can't do through this.
Right.
And you just can't. As lovely as this is, it's not the same. And I think a lot will come. In fact, something I would suggest, since you're close up to SeaTac, aren't you? How close are you to the airport?
Oh, geez, about a half hour.
Okay, right. So this is what I would suggest. I would suggest you guys hosting an event where you have certain speakers that are going to be there, and then have people come from around the country and around the continent, around the world, to the event, so they can all meet people of like mind and meet you two.
Yeah, absolutely. We just had an event in Eatonville, Washington, because it's close to Mount Rainier, and it was a beautiful day.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just trying to find like closer to Seattle.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna find the right locations, but that's part of it. Like, we want to be able to have speakers and healers and maybe some music and just go from there. But yeah, and if not only to have it up here, but to take it on the road.
Sure.
Yeah.
No,
Absolutely.
I think that might be an amazing vehicle.
Yeah, it's we're thinking the same, and that's so important that we're casting the wide net, because part of the reason, if you will, I used to book nightclubs and bands and different artists, and when I had this idea that these two artists should meet, and they do, and then they're doing more shows together, it's an amazing feeling. And so if we have someone like you on the show, and then we have someone else that might have that's maybe not into energy healing.
Mhm.
But then they meet, it expands the consciousness. And then when we have someone that's so approachable and debonair as you, Mr. Cooley, um,
The
well
check's
then,
in the mail. Check's in the mail. Go ahead.
well then it might get people to go, I like Joe, I like Scott, I like Keith. Let me just see what some of their other more either quirky or odd subject matter shows are. And that way they can see that we're trying to be a bridge, really, in a way. And we don't, we're very guest centric and we don't necessarily agree with all our guests, but
Right.
I think there's beautiful, it's like popcorn. It's like everything's starting to pop and we're going to have this beautiful or bouquet of flowers and everyone has their own place in it. And it's amazing to do this. I mean, I love networking and I love helping people, shine in the field that they're in. And it's such an honor to both learn and teach at the same time. It's incredible to do this.
Yeah, I imagine your body of information that you've obtained and are accumulating is vast at this point.
Overwhelming at times, but yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't change much. I'm doing the best that I can every day. So that's all I can do.
Yeah, that's all you can.
Yep.
Well,
Awesome, brother.
Joe, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate the chance to talk about what I did today, and for you to consider me not to be the fringe and the quirky. Just shows you, everybody, exactly the breadth of client or of guests that you have on the show that where I'm not on the fringe. All right, folks, there's your clue right there of the diversity of what they have on the show is that I'm somewhere not on the fringe. That's pretty amazing.
Awesome. Thank you, Keith. Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
everybody.
Thanks you all for watching. We'll talk to you all soon.